Let's turn that down. Right, so welcome everybody to the first of the Poly Weekly News. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but with all the traveling and chaos of my day job, it's been quite hard to put a block of time down to spend doing a live stream. I spend a lot of time out on the field talking to customers and partners and distributors, and now with the lockdown, I feel a little bit detached. So I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to start up this regular stream to talk to you, our partners and customers, and try and grow a community and continue the connection we have. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, because not only am I going to be doing this every Monday at 3 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. European, and then Eastern time is 10 a.m. I believe. We are going to be putting out a lot more content as well for you guys to watch. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit that now. And without further ado, let's run the credits. There we go. I love OBS. I'm getting used to this and trying to create this great production. So grab yourself a tea or a coffee. Green tea for me here in the UK in the afternoon. Grab a coffee if you're in the States and join this joint therapy session where we'll get together and talk about some products, introduce you to some people here at Poly. I want to take you behind the scenes. Again, I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to introduce you to some people, introduce you to some technology, and show you some of the great people and the great technology that we have here at Poly. I was going to do a quick shout out in shout out corner. I can see the AV Jam guys on. They're chatting away in the comments. I don't know if anyone else, you want to kind of say hi in the comments, and I'll shout you out in the video. Thanks, Noel. Yeah, great. Low cost, low budget production, and we'll take this and roll with it. So good to see everybody online. I wanted to just quickly run through the headlines. It's been a busy month. Clearly, Enterprise Connect didn't happen virtually for a lot of organizations, and we've had a lot of news and announcements to pick up on that I wanted to kind of cover off this afternoon. Hello, Bertrand. And we launched the Trio C60, so we did a webinar on that last week, and that's now out in the wild. It's been desperate to talk to people about that really exciting new conference phone in the Trio C60, and you're going to see more of that. I'll try and get maybe someone on to in an upcoming weekly news to kind of cover off the C60. Obviously, we've extended our headset portfolio to add some additional Microsoft headsets to the portfolio with the Voyager 4245 and the Voyager Office series. So those are really helping us bolster that Microsoft element of the portfolio. If you've been napping, then you would have missed that we've got our new partner program as well. Nick Tidd has released our new partner program. And again, if that's something of interest, happy to get Nick on and we can talk about that. But what we're going to cover off this afternoon is hot off the press as of last week, and that is the PolyOS 3.1. Now, rather than me just yammering on about it and telling you all the cool stuff that we have in it, what I thought I'd do is I would get on a subject matter expert, and there's no better subject matter expert than the product director, who is Randy Castle. So I'm going to bring Randy on here live from Austin. Randy, morning.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. So, or is it afternoon there yet?
Yeah, it's afternoon here. So for those who don't know, Randy, how long have you been at Polycom and now Poly?
Oh man, a long time. I started in 1999 wow. As an engineer in Poly here in the video division. So yeah, I guess that makes it either 4 decades now, if I count it that way, or 2 centuries. I'm not sure which one's worse, but it's been a long time. Lots of cool innovations and multiple generations of new products. And really excited about the Studio X30 and the G7500 that we just launched.
So PolyOS, just talk us through this. So, this is a kind of new concept where we used to have sort of different software for all of our different families. Tell us a little bit about PolyOS and the kind of theory and thinking behind it.
Yeah, this is a big change from what we've done in the past. So, previously we kind of did standards-based and we had our own application. We integrated well with other providers or other vendors just through interop. But now everyone's kind of gone off into their own little siloed areas of their own ecosystem. So we want to play in that space. So we created a platform on the Studio X and the G7500. We call it the Poly Video OS. So it's essentially an open Android platform with extensions into some of the cool technology that we provide. Things like noise block and camera tracking and the better room configurations that some of these other providers may not have had an opportunity to get into yet. So they can put their application through our partner program on our endpoints, and then we can fully integrate their entire UI experience and run their actual app. And so one of the great things about this is you've seen with Zoom that launched a few months ago, Zoom can actually update their app. And we know Zoom has had a number of issues lately in the news where they're going to be doing a lot of rapid iteration on their application. We can pick that up right away and just install it onto our platform. And you'll see the same thing with other application vendors coming out here in the next couple of months.
That's great. So we're up to 3.1 of PolyOS, and I put some of the down that side. Sorry, I'll get my left and right way around. I put out some of the kind of headline features in this new 3.1. So it GA last Wednesday, Thursday. I want you to kind of take us through. So from the top, the big ticket item is for me USB device mode. So can you kind of take us through USB device mode?
Yeah, I'm glad you started with that one, because that one is a really interesting feature that I'm really excited about. So this is an opportunity for us to add a lot of flexibility for customer deployments. Oftentimes you'll see an enterprise customer may have selected a particular provider, say Zoom. And so normally they schedule their calls on Zoom and everything works great. We run the Zoom application, user walks into the conference room, they see the Zoom UI on our TC8 or on our C60 conference phone. But what if a external vendor offered or sent them a Teams invite or a LogMeIn GoToMeeting invite or any other provider? So the device mode gives you the option to walk into a room that's already set for a particular application like Zoom. You can walk up to the TC8, start on the right side of the touch panel, swipe to the left, and that's where you'll see the Poly control panel. So this is where things like camera control will be for other applications that may not have camera control. A lot of these providers are coming from the cell phone world and they don't need camera control on a cell phone. So this is where the advanced features exist for the Poly Video OS. Well, one of those is the device mode. So you'll see the device mode as an option there. You select that option and now you can use a USB cable from the Studio X or the G7500, plug it into your laptop, plug HDMI from your laptop in so that you have your monitor output. And now the Studio X will behave just like a Studio USB. So you have your camera, your microphones, your sound system, all professional quality up at the front of the room, right next to the monitor. And then the user doesn't have to give up their laptop by switching to an application running on their laptop. And they can project that up onto that second monitor.
That's great. So, I mean, I guess it covers all use cases. We can do scheduled meetings, click to join, you can come in and dial ad hoc, or you can bring your own device with your laptop. You know, you're using the term laptop. I know you're a kind of Mac fanboy. Is it just Windows, or can we do Mac as well?
We do Mac as well, and so this is essentially it's just a USB device is how the Studio X will appear to the laptop. So there's no software that has to be installed. There's no Windows drivers or Mac applications that need to be installed. Just plug in with a Mac. You'll have a USB-C to HDMI and USB adapter, which most Mac users carry around in their bag. So you just you plug that in and you're good to go. You also don't need to recable the HDMI. The HDMI input of the Studio X is still what's used, so you don't have to reconnect to the monitor. The same cable you would have used to share content, say with Zoom, when you switch into USB device mode, that's the same cable you would use to put your laptop into this device mode, use the Studio X camera for whatever application you want, and then that video out gets routed through the Studio X back to your monitor. So the user doesn't have to mess with any other settings other than selecting the USB device mode option from our control panel.
Nice. And with the language you're using, I've just seen Steve McLaughlin's actually on from ScanSource, and he and I had a conversation about this. But we've got pass-through on the Trio, USB pass-through, and we're not calling this pass-through, are we? It's kind of different, isn't it? Can you just cover that off?
That's correct. Yeah, so the pass-through mode with the Trio actually uses an application that runs on your laptop. So it actually does a little bit of processing there and then passes that data through to the video processor. In this case, we're actually appearing just like a webcam that you would connect to your laptop or PC or Mac over a USB connection. So we're truly operating as a device peripheral. That's how the laptop sees the Studio X. So we call it device mode.
Awesome, great. So that's kind of headline ticket, I guess. The other great thing is Trio integration. I mean, everyone's been asking for Trio integration. When we first brought out the G7500, they're like, can we hook it up with the Trio like we used to have with the kind of Visual Plus, Visual Pro kind of story? So Trio integration is now in there in 3.1 as well. Can you kind of take us through the different options around Trio?
I have a C60 right here, brand new.
Just prepared.
That's right. I'm using a TC8 in front of me, so I don't have this connected right now. But yes, so this now the C60 as well as the 8500 and 8800 will operate as a microphone and a speaker, and you can actually configure the sound output to either go to the Trio speaker or to the Studio X or G7500 sound system. So in addition to microphone and sound system, the controller on the C60 also can now be used to drive the Studio X and G7500, whether you're in Zoom mode or in the Poly Video app mode.
Great. So it works in each one of the apps, independently, and you can choose where you route your speakers, either via the center of the table or via the front end. That's nice. And it works with the C60 and the 85 and 88. What's the deal on the different trios?
Well, so the C60, of course, is where we're headed, and the C60 offers some additional advantages. It's got a custom display, latest operating system, so we will be able to enhance what you see on the C60, very similar to what we have on the TC8. We do expect all of our controllers to be very similar in the user experience, and so what you see on the Poly Video app mode on the TC8 is what you're going to see on the C60 going forward. For today, with the 8500 and the 8800, you get a what we call like a virtual remote control, very similar to having a Bluetooth remote control in the room. So it's still accessible, but that experience is going to be much better from the user workflow perspective on the C60.
Okay, cool. So next up then, headset support. Poly now bringing Plantronics and Polycom together, the kind of headset and the video portfolio together. So we've added support on the X series for Bluetooth dongles, the BT600 and the headsets now as well.
That's right. So the 3.1 release added a lot of audio enhancements, and some of that is around the use of the USB port on the Studio X and the G7500 for different audio devices. So you can connect either a wired headset or you can connect a Bluetooth headset, and specifically all the Voyager series headsets from Poly now are supported with the BT600 dongle.
Cool, and we got the Shure audio processor as well. It's down on the room integration list, but that's a USB connection as well, isn't it, I believe?
That's right. And so we've had a lot of requests from customers over the past couple of years to say, hey, we really love the Shure ceiling tiles. That's been very popular with a lot of large room installations. And so we reached out to them and said, hey, let's talk about doing a partnership. So we've worked very closely with them. They actually have our hardware. We've got their hardware in our lab that we're testing with. And so what we did is we integrated with the Shure P300 audio processor over USB. So now you can connect those Shure table mics and the Shure ceiling tiles directly to a Studio X or G7500 using a P300 Shure processor and then connecting over USB. And it synchronizes all the things such as mute. As soon as you plug it in, we detect that there's a Shure processor there, and we will disable our echo cancellation so that you can do echo cancellation on the Shure P300 audio processor.
Awesome. I guess the AV guys are gonna love that kind of stuff. And then I've been watching the chat and people are asking about the 3.5mm. I know we got the 3.5mm input on the group series. Like the group series now on the G7500. What about the 3.5mm on the X series as well, the X50? Is that in there or not? I can't remember.
Yep. Yeah, so the X50 and the G7500 adding support for new audio mixing capabilities. So if you're familiar with how this was done on the group series, you had control over things such as, do I want the 3.5mm audio input to be like an in-room microphone? Or maybe it's for a vertical application and you want to have a stethoscope connected. So you want to be able to control how that audio is heard either locally or to the far side, and whether or not mute would affect it. So if you mute your mics, maybe you want that audio on line in to still pass through. So all those types of controls that were available on the group series are now available on G7500. So this helps those customers who had some unique applications and maybe some larger room integration that had Group Series installed in those rooms, and we're waiting for this type of a feature to be able to move off of Group Series onto the new generation platforms.
That's great. And then lastly, we got some video enhancements in there. We always like a bit of enhancement to video, but we've done a lot of work on the quality. I know on the X series, we've actually boosted the capability of the cameras, but then we've added in some of the tracking options that we had on the Studio. So the kind of speaker tracking. It's there's a name for it. Alan and Stephen are calling it. Is it follow the conversation or something? Is the cool term?
It's let's see, it's tracks.
I put you on the spot
frame
there.
speaker. Frame speaker. Sorry,
yeah.
We changed the name a few times. I forgot. Frame speaker. So you have frame group, which is what we launched with 3.0, and that allows the Studio X to find all the participants in the room and widen the lens to capture everybody. If somebody comes in and they're sitting off camera because the camera has already zoomed in on the participants that have been in the room for a while, we can detect that and zoom back out. So that's frame group. Frame speaker starts with that same perspective, but then once somebody has been speaking for a certain amount of time, it will recognize that's a presenter type mode, and it will zoom in on that particular speaker. And then we've done some really advanced heuristics around, well, what if there's multiple speakers? What if there's a conversation that's happening in the room? So now the system will actually zoom back out slightly to capture both of the participants in the room. And there's many more things that are going to be coming around this technology that we'll be launching in the short term.
That's nice. And then lastly on that camera list, we can mount the X30 upside down now, which is huge. Right.
We had a lot of requests for that, so we are coming out with some new mounting brackets to allow you to do that, and we'll also have a new faceplate that goes over the front, so when you do flip it, you can put a new faceplate on. But one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is with the X30, it's so small that we didn't have room for the cables to come out of the back. So since the cables drop down, then if you mount it below the monitor, you have the cables that are visible there. Inverting the camera allows those cables to go directly up towards the monitor if you're mounting it below the monitor, and so that's will make it much more attractive deployment. And let me touch on the other camera improvements too. So we've done a lot of work around improving the low light modes. So now the brightness is a bit better. In fact, there's even a slider on the web UI, so the administrators can adjust for any particular room environment. You can adjust the brightness. You can adjust the sharpness of the image and the color saturation. So lots of controls to tailor the system for whatever the room deployment looks like. We've also improved the sharpness in general. We've done things such as fix the camera frame rate to a minimum of 30 frames per second so that we reduce the motion blur that was happening if the frame rate would drop. So that's improved a lot of the quality of the picture and the sharpness of the image overall.
Awesome. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. Now I've put in the show notes in the description for the video, so anyone who's watching this live or watching the recording, I put in there links to be able to go to the knowledge base on how to update the system. So if you've got one, you can then update it. I've also put in there some details from the user guide as well around the USB. There's a couple of questions coming in on kind of what cable and such like. We don't sell the cables, although you can use the cable from the Studio or the Eagle-Eye Eagle-Eye Cube, but any decent quality USB cable, I think it's fair to say USB 3 or 2 kind of seems to work, but don't get some cheapy phone charger cable from AliExpress or something. It's not going to help you out. So buy something decent. And again, for the AV partners out there, I guess you can come and get some bundles on there. Randy,
I'll add to that though. We will be providing a extension cable.
Okay.
So that'll be coming in the future, in the next month or two, and that'll give you the ability to run that cable really long length, like over 20 meters.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Randy, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the first Poly Weekly News. I'll let you get back to your breakfast, and I'll wrap this up for the guys there. So thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thank you, Neil.
So everybody, Randy Castle's taking us through the PolyOS 3.1. If you've got an X series, if you've got an X50, X30, or a G7500, hook over to your web admin, hit that update button, and get the 3.1 software. There's some loads and loads of cool stuff in there. USB device mode, the Trio integration, as well as lots of other stuff that we haven't even covered off in this session. Now, again, this is the first of the Poly Weekly News. I'd love to hear from you what you'd like to see and get your suggestions for future shows. I've got lots of ideas myself, but this is a show for you, not necessarily for me. So I'd love to hear from you. A couple of ideas I've got, maybe we can vote this up, or again, give me your suggestions in the comments or on social. Maybe we could get one of the camera guys in to talk about the camera tracking and framing and get those guys to come in. I could hook up some of the acoustic guys from our media labs to talk about things like noise block AI and acoustic fence. Or maybe I've been always hammering Gabriella to come in from the UX UI team to maybe talk about interfaces and user experience and user interface. So or any others. So again, hook me up. Let me know what you want me to, who you want me to get on, what you want us to discuss on this show every week, and I will go and grab them and bring them on. And give you that insight. Help me grow this community as well. Again, this is the first one. I really want to kind of, while we're all in lockdown, use this, as I say, as a bit of a therapy session for us all to start us off for the week and to fire us up for the week with a little bit of training, a little bit of education around what's going on, and just a case to kind of chat in the chat here on YouTube around this and get you, my connections, my friends, my colleagues, and customers and partners kind of discussing and talking while we're in this. So please help share this content out, the recording out on LinkedIn. Just to help you out, I put a link in the description as well where you can add this to your calendar to join me every Monday and hook you up on the next Poly Weekly News. So with that, thank you all for joining and your interactions in the comment, and I will see you next Monday, if not before, for the next Poly Weekly News. Thanks, everyone.